Once upon a time, there was a tailor. The tailor's wife had died due to the Great Plague. The tailor's daughter was to be raised by him alone. The tailor was quite good at his profession, but he lived in a large city, a port town visited by royalty and governors and every sort of high society. And because of this, there were many tailors to choose from, and he wasn't the best. One day, as he was counting the mere pittance he'd earned that month, he began to cry. His daughter needed new shoes and new dresses, and he could not afford to dress his own child. Her toes showed through the old leather shoes. Her dresses were in tatters and patched where he could spare only the smallest amount of fabric from clients' new coats or ball gowns. She was thin and weak, and he knew that he could not be the father that he had promised his wife that he would be, and this made the tailor angry. He wanted to be the best. He wanted it so badly that he could taste it. He wanted it so badly that he knew that he would give anything to be the best. He was embarrassed that his daughter was so shabby and knew that she would never be married if she looked like that. He wanted to dress the princesses, the duchesses, and fit a suit of the finest material for the governor himself. He dreamed of fabric, the finest silks, the softest velvet, the best cottons and wools. He could smell the finest, softest grain leather in his sleep. He knew that if he could just get these things, he would be the happiest man in the world. So one night, he went to the pub and pulled out one coin, his last coin, from his threadbare pants and ordered a nail. The coin was meant to purchase bread for him and his daughter, but he was so unhappy. He was wanting to drink his problems away, but too poor to buy more than one ale. So he held it closely and drank it slowly as his angry tears dropped into the glass. That's when a man sat next to him and told the barkeep to give the man another ale. "No, sir," began the tailor, "I cannot pay for another." The man rested his hand on the man's back. "Sir, let me do this kindness for you." And even though the tailor was embarrassed for his lack of funds, he accepted the ale. The man bought him another and another, and as he drank, the man asked what could possibly be bringing this tailor to tears. When the tailor was feeling much relaxed and warm, with ale flowing through his veins, he began to tell his tale of woe and how unfair life is to this kind gentleman who looked deeply into his eyes and listened with such undistracted attention that the tailor felt as if he were talking to an old friend. Finally, as the tears dried and the anger flowed, the man put his hand on the tailor's back again and said, "Let me propose to you a business deal." The tailor slurred back, "What kind of a deal?" "I'll make you the best tailor in the world. You'll have the finest leather of the rarest kind. You will be sought after by kings and queens, summoned to castles and country estates. You'll be treated as a gentleman should be. You will be able to afford to buy yourself the finest of clothing. You will have your own tailor. You will be making vests and boots and beautiful shoes, priceless handbags and luggage. Your name will forever be connected to your finest goods. Your name will be known throughout history, and you'll have everything you ever wished for." The tailor, confused by drink, looked at the stranger for quite some time, trying to read his expression, and finally he thought that This was a deal that was too good to be true. "How can you do this for me? And why would you want to? You don't even know me. I don't know you." "Ah, but I do know of you. I've heard of your work. I've heard your heart, and I know the riches it longs for. I see in your eyes, and in them, the desire to give anything for fame and wealth." The tailor could hardly believe his ears when he asked, "How would this be done?" "My friend," the man said smoothly, "I ask only one thing in return." The man already knew that he'd agree to anything to achieve this dream, but he still asked, What is it?" "Simply that you sign this contract." The man slid it slowly to the tailor, who reached for it and stared with blurred eyes from the ale. "Barkeep," the tailor said, "give me a quill." Then the tailor asked where to sign and quickly scribbled his name. The man shook his hand and told him to go home, that he would arrive quite early in the morning, and he needed the tailor to be rested to begin his work. "The leather?" asked the tailor. "Let me worry about that," said the man. But this time the tailor saw something, a slight movement in the man's face, the ever so slightest movement of his lips turning upwards. At dawn the next morning the man did show up at the tailor's home, which was also his place of business. The tailor's daughter stood beside him, and when the tailor introduced her to the man who was going to make him rich, the daughter reached out with her hand to shake the man's hand, and as he took her hand, he rubbed the skin on her arm, slowly, very slowly. The girl looked at her father, who shook his head no to tell her to shush. "Do not take away this opportunity for me." He was glaring, and then the man turned her arm over and ran a finger along her forearm, slowly, quite slowly. Finally, he spoke. "Yes, this is quite beautiful. It will do nicely." The confused tailor barked out, "What are you speaking of, sir?" The man looked up, his eyes red as fire. "Her skin, friend. Her beautiful, soft skin. The skin of a young maiden. You shall strip her of it, and by the next morn it will have grown back, and you will strip her of it again. You will make the finest shoes and handbags from it." Then the man slapped down the contract onto the tailor's table. "I own her soul now, friend. Your greed is your living hell. Now, pick up the sharpest knife you own."